This month, I am loving the Enneagram 5 journey. We took a little summer detour and now we're diving right in. And last week, Deanna Sudum gave us some of the insights about an Enneagram 5 and her personal take for having a strong wing 5. But today, my friend and wholehearted sojourner, Georgia Wolfe, is with me today to share about her wholehearted journey. So, Georgia, thank you for saying yes. I don't take that lightly.
Of course, my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
We're going to start at the very beginning of the journey in the Enneagram world, so to speak. What was happening in your life where you recognized the Enneagram 5? What was that like? Was there some relief? What caused you to recognize it even?
Yeah. Gosh, this has been, I think I really dove deep into the Enneagram about almost 7 years ago. I had just moved about 2 hours away from home for a new job. I didn't have many friends. I didn't have a lot of free time. Looking back, I can actually see where this was going to be a very pivotal moment for me spiritually because I found myself very lonely. And I had actually a friend of mine had told me about the book, The Road Back to You, years before this, and I just never picked it up. And being in this transition phase where I found myself with some quiet time, I finally picked it up. And that's when I dove in. And that's where I learned that I was a five. It was being a five, I ate it up. I immediately
Yeah.
knew that that was me. I fit the bill to a T, and it was exciting. I I tend to geek out on knowledge, and so I feel like I finally, not that I knew I was searching, but I finally had answers to things like, why don't I feel like I have the energy for this? Or why is it so difficult for me to make new friendships right from the get-go? Things that I had always growing up thought were personality flaws. I was now getting answers that they weren't flaws, they're just part of my makeup of how God made me.
I love that. Along those lines, was there anything that was harder to absorb? Did it sting a little bit when you started to see the patterns being named, or were there things that were harder to own?
There were definitely things that were harder to own. I think, as a five, we tend to withdraw and we use the term hoarding of time. And at first, I thought, I'm not a hoarder.
Yeah, it's a strong word.
It is, it really is. But as I read more and learned more, I realized I am hoarding my time. And I was hoarding it out of
Mhm.
fear of what you like to call catastrophic depletion. And I naming that, it was a relief, but it was also a big question mark. Well, how do I fix this? How do I move on from uh, managing this time that I feel like I can't give anybody?
Wow. Wow. Yeah. It is a unique phrase that I don't know that I've heard anywhere outside of the Enneagram. It's very distinct. And we're going to talk a lot about relationships, but how did that play into your relationships as it stood? Understanding this energy draw and possible depletion.
It played in significantly. I can look back from a very early age in childhood thinking, even going to church, waking up Sunday mornings, and getting ready for church. And I would think, "Oh, I'm going to have to talk to people. I'm going to have to put myself out there. They're going to want to talk to me. They're going to want me to answer their questions." And by the end of the 2 hours you're at church, I was done. I was exhausted. And this played into even middle school and high school when kids start to go into, or they form small groups, or you get involved.
Right.
I didn't do that. That was not me. It was a huge, I was fearful. I was never really a part of a small group because I thought, I'm going to have to go with people I don't really know and share my deepest thoughts and my feelings. And they're asking me questions about my personal walk with God. That's personal. Like I can't go. I can't do that. That's too scary. It's too much. And then I knew by the end of it, I would just be mentally exhausted. So it
Mhm.
played a huge role, and I can see where I missed out on a lot, even into
Mhm.
adulthood.
Wow. Wow. I know there was some of those questions that in our first conversations. How do I engage with the world? Because I think just what you alluded, having enough time away gave you time for reflection to consider,
Mhm.
ooh, I'm not sure that that was a positive quality. Now what? So, what's interesting is that you've actually built a life that asks a lot of you. You
Mhm.
have a blended family, you have a bonus son. You are in a career that actually puts you in a room with a lot of people in their hardest moments. So, what has that actually have been like for you? What are the relationships that ask the most, and
Mhm.
how do you handle it when you hit the wall of your energy? And what happens when your people need you to stay and you're
Yeah.
just like, I've got to
Yeah.
recharge?
Yeah. A lot of times it feels like a flying circus. Like
Fair.
I am
Yeah.
very, very much overstimulated, feeling like every aspect of my life is demanding something from me that I just don't have to give. I think one of the hardest relationships that asks a lot of me is that of my husband. We, because of our circumstances, being a blended family, I feel, as a five, it's very difficult for us to meet needs of others. And
Yeah.
having that blended family, I am expected to meet his needs, and I'm expected to meet the needs of my bonus son. And then I'm also expected to meet these needs that my husband requires me as a bonus mom. And as a five, that's a lot, and then these
It
are in
is.
addition to all of the other needs that people need from me just on a daily basis,
Mhm.
whether it's at work or other relationships outside of work and family. But I think trying to manage all of those needs has been a lot. However, my time with you, Amy, we've talked about what it looks like for a five to voice their needs so that it's more of a give and take. And I don't
Mhm.
feel so depleted. And so that's been a really big pivotal moment for my husband and I, so that I don't feel that I'm the one constantly pouring into him or into our bonus son or just into our family, as a whole. It's really hard for a five to admit, I need something from you. And so that was a conversation that him and I had to have. And it's something that I had to work on. And he shares his needs, I share my needs, and it's more of a give and take. And I don't carry this resentment of feeling like I'm constantly depleted from my own family.
Wow. That's so good. That's you name a universal ache that is challenging for women in general is to state what they need. What makes it hard for you? You're the five, but also for you personally, what is the fear behind stating what you need? What comes into play? Because for each one of us, it's different. And I think it's important to give
Yeah.
some time to that and name it.
Yeah. Sure. I think for me, as a five, I want to be independent. I want to take care of myself. I don't want to be a burden to someone else. Because I have these limited energy stores, if someone asks something of me, I it almost at times can feel like a burden, and I don't want to project that onto someone else.
Yeah.
But also there's another aspect to it, and I'll be honest, I think it's pride. It's definitely pride. And
Yeah.
I think part of just becoming a healthy individual, no matter what Enneagram type you are, you have to die to yourself, especially in your marriage. You have to die to yourself, let go of your pride. And that's been probably the biggest turning point for me is
Mm.
just letting go of that.
Yeah. Yeah. You name that independence. What is that independence tied to? What is there security around there? Is it
For
Um,
sure.
and yeah, tell us a little bit more about that connection.
I think, I reach for that independence. Because I can manage it. Those are things that I am in control of. I can manage my time that way. And if I'm in
Yeah.
control of who I'm going to pour into, or, what I'm going to do for the day, that's part of the 5. I can manage my energy stores that way.
Mhm.
There's also the flip side to it. That's exhausting, and it
Yeah.
turns out to be really lonely. I could definitely see where it was causing walls. I was putting up walls between my husband and myself because I wasn't being honest about my feelings and transparent and vulnerable and letting him know that I do need things. I was just trying to manage it all on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. I know one of the many things, again, oftentimes life is colliding, and there's this unique moment where we realize it's coming sideways at us 4 or 5 different ways. And we can no longer manage it on our own. We need help of some sort. And oftentimes that propels us into reaching out to either some community base for help, therapy, counseling, coaching. And another catalyst or another behind the scenes instigator was challenging family relationships.
Mhm.
This is unique, and
Mhm.
we've talked a lot behind the scenes, and it's unique because it's not just your story, but it was one of the
Mhm.
reasons why you needed to
Absolutely.
express the help from your husband because of this huge thing that you were going through. So
Yeah.
how tell us a little bit about that and how you carried it, or what does it even look like to understand and love a 5 through a time that is incredibly challenging emotionally and relationally?
Yeah. I didn't share a lot of my feelings about the difficult relationship I had with my brother. I didn't share a lot of that with my husband. And looking back, I wish I would have sooner because it was a lot to carry, and you can't carry all of that on your own.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to be a burden to him. I felt like this was my issue. This was my issue that I had with my brother, and I didn't want to be a burden to my husband about it. I didn't want him to see me as complaining, or, I didn't want my burdens to be his, in a
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah. Because there was an element where it felt like it couldn't be figured out. There was no quick solution, and this was dragging out for a while. So, what made you finally decide it was worth trying something else or sharing or even reaching out for help? Because the
Mhm.
situation
Yeah,
is not a quick fix. There wasn't
it's
a,
not.
mhm,
Um, the situation with my brother had gone on for years. I think probably around 12 years. And I had had a conversation with him over the phone that led to me kind of word vomiting
mhm,
my hurt feelings, which I had never expressed to him before. Him and I have never really been close. We never really had a relationship where we can talk freely about our feelings, or even just to call up on the phone and, say, hey, how you doing? We've never really had that. And
mhm.
so this pivotal moment, I had no idea that I was harboring all of these bad feelings and hurt, a lot of hurt. And that's when I hung up the phone with him. I was very emotional, and that's when I just thought, I don't know how to manage. I don't know how to process all of this. And
Yeah.
that's when I knew I needed to reach out. I needed to find help. I needed someone that could unpack it for me and kind of break it all into pieces, and and say, this is why you have anger. This is why you're sad about things. These are why you're having these feelings. And so that's when I reached out for help.
Yeah. I think for all of us, again, different reasons, different motivations, but coming to the end of, whoa, this is maybe bigger than I knew it was because what
Yes.
just happened
Yes. Yes.
doesn't match the typical reaction or
Right.
what I thought would be normal
Yes.
for that scenario. So,
Yes. And I
yeah,
think as a 5, I'm used to diving into knowledge, like a book or getting online. And I had reached the point where it was beyond that.
yeah,
Searching for knowledge was not going to help on my own. I needed something else.
Yeah. And I was so grateful to get to intersect your journey at that moment. And there were tears and prayers.
Mm.
There was no quick
Yeah.
fixes, but
Yeah.
a lot of what we continued to come back to, besides understanding how to read the map, your inner map of the five
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
stress and growth and wings and integration,
Mhm.
a lot of it was spiritual practices and inviting the Lord into it and giving
Absolutely.
opportunity to sit with him. So
Yeah.
tell me, or tell my friend who's listening a little bit, how has your faith intersected with this journey? What is that? How has that looked and how has that matured in this time?
Yeah. Amy, there was a moment during one of our sessions, y you said something along the lines of, "I don't have an answer for this. I think it's going to take a miracle. It's going to take a miracle." And I'll be honest, that was a hard pill to swallow. I'm a realist. I'm a 5. What do you mean there's no answer? Like, we can find an answer for this. But I think it was at that moment that I had to throw my hands up and relinquish everything to God, because you're right. It was going to take a miracle. And so
Mhm.
what I thought I had with my relationship with God, what I thought was two ways, it was not. I was not relying on him as I should. I was again trying to carry this load all by myself. And so my prayers shifted. My prayers shifted from, please do a work in my life, God. Please do a work in my brother's life and my parents and my sister-in-law, to, I need a miracle, please. It just shifted. And that was a really pivotal point for me. I realized that God has been there this whole time. I'm just not allowing him to help me.
Yeah. Wow. I know you say that with a great deal of emotion. And I go back there. I also, for frame of reference, these conversations happened over years. So this
Yeah.
was not in a couple of weeks or even a couple of months. This has been, I've had the privilege of journeying with Georgia for several years now. And it oftentimes does go this way where we together can implement certain practices. We can talk about our ownership, our role, what we can do. And you did everything. You invited your husband into this. You learned how to manage your energy in a way that was more life giving to everybody. You engaged with curiosity and care to family members who wouldn't have it. You also put boundaries in place and stepped away as you need to. There was not a thing you didn't have, even including the kinds of conversations you had with your parents about this situation. You had done everything.
Yeah.
And you share a moment here going, there are, this has happened in my life for sure, still is, where we get to this place. I do think it's important to give God our loaves and fishes, to
Mhm.
give everything that we can,
Mhm.
then go, okay, God, you've got to do something here because that's what it's going to take. It's
Yeah.
going to take a miracle. How have you begun to see God seeing you in a way that has changed how you view yourself?
My mom, when I was young, she and I would go through little struggles, as a child or as a teenager. She would always remind me, she would say, God will never give you anything that you can't handle. And now I can see I need to give myself a little more credit, right? God is giving me what I can handle. And when I feel like I've reached catastrophic depletion, He's there saying, you're not at catastrophic depletion. You can handle this. And so there are times when I am mentally exhausted, or, I feel like my energy cup is empty. I just remind myself, He's giving me what I can handle. I can do this. I can, hang out with a friend, and I can coach volleyball. I can still go to work tomorrow, even though I'm exhausted. I can cook dinner tonight, and I can still go to the gym. And yes, these are normal life duties, but for a 5, they they can be draining. And so I just remind myself, he's giving me what I can handle. And it's almost like this calming little blanket, or like maybe like a thunderstorm blanket. Like this, I might panic for a quick second, but I'm like, I can do this. He's giving me what I can handle.
And he's giving you the strength to engage with it. And I've seen that in you where your life rhythms have expanded as
Yes.
you've seen God meet you and give you the capacity, not a striving for it, but a Lord, can you help me handle more? Because this is my plate right now. It's
Yes.
not the hors d'oeuvre or dessert
Yeah.
place plate I prefer, but this is the like lunch plate. And Lord, can
Yeah.
you help me carry it?
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
beautiful. That's beautiful. I'm curious, there's a lot of them, but when we're talking about a specific story or moment that illustrates how you show up differently, and goodness, like I can think of 10. Boom, boom, boom. But what's been something that has stood out to you?
In the sense of showing up,
Yeah.
um, I think I thought about this for a little while, and in its simplest form, where I can see a difference from now till when you and I started when I started my new job. You and I started our
That's
sessions.
right. That's
And
right.
I had new coworkers, and one of my coworkers, her name is Michaela. Her and I do the same job. There's just her and I. We do the same job. And she is almost the complete opposite of me in the sense that her energy cup is overflowing. And from the time she wakes up till the time she goes to bed, and she's the type of person that wakes up at 4 in the morning and she's got words and she's going to share them with me, even through text. She'll be texting me at 4 in the morning. But so I started this new job, and in the mornings we're getting things ready, and she is just talk, talk, talk. And I'm like, it's 7:30, Michaela. I'm not waking up. Like, I'm not ready for words. I need another hour. I need my coffee. And I was thinking, she's not even talking about anything really meaningful. This is surface talk. She's asking me how my night was. What are my plans for the weekend? What am I making for dinner tonight? And but she just kept at it. And finally, I'm like, well, I don't want to be rude. I'm just going to answer her questions. So I started answering her questions. And this just snowballed into, she is one of my dearest friends because she really forced me to conversate, which led, the silly questions led to meaningful conversations. And it I started to feel comfortable to open up and share with her my thoughts, my feelings, and just to be vulnerable. And I can't recall any relationship I've ever had in my life that, which is so sad to think about, but I don't know if I've had a closer friend. And the funny part is she didn't give me a choice. And so I just thank the Lord for her. I could have gone anywhere to any job and been placed with any other kind of coworker. But God placed me with Michaela, who was going to force me to talk and force me to come out of my shell, almost to a sense where she didn't care if my answers were silly, or she wanted to befriend me. And as a five, I feel like those are the types of people we need in our lives. And I want to know that someone wants to be my friend, that helps me open up and trust them.
Wow,
I don't know if that
that's
answered your
beautiful.
question.
Oh my goodness. Georgia, that's so beautiful. It speaks to a couple things. That that denotes risk on your part, risk opening up, risk giving energy and receiving her care, her curiosity, and
Mhm,
also giving it back.
mhm.
And what a gift and a reminder of it's never too late to
Right.
open our heart in that journey.
Absolutely.
And I know that has snowballed into other things because along the same timing, and again, sometimes life just has these moments where it's like
Yes.
five
Yes.
to 10 things are changing all at once are happening and colliding. And I saw how that our conversations, but all the other things the Lord was orchestrating, you taking that step with her, taking the step with the group of people at work,
Yes.
speaking up at work, speaking up in your
Yes.
family, sharing and being vulnerable with your husband, learning taking the effort
Yes.
and intentional action and being a bonus mom, all these different things that I
Mhm.
know would have felt impossible before,
Absolutely.
but you really
Yeah.
stepped into, and the Lord met you in it, all
Mhm.
of it.
It was like once I saw that I could manage, or I could have a friend, or I
Yeah.
could speak up at work. It was like I was chipping away a little bit at a time.
Mm.
Once I realized that I can do these things, I can have these relationships, they're not draining, they're actually fulfilling, they're actually filling my cup. And then I think that's when it just opened up a whole new person within me, and I started taking on things like coaching high school volleyball that I never would have thought I would
Never.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really just like my true self had been dampened and living in fear of this energy depletion for so long, until finally I wasn't. I came out
Mm.
and it was a relief. It was like this burden had just been lifted.
So beautiful because I will say, we all know girls' volleyball is not without its drama, not without its trials and tribulations. And yet,
Mhm.
you, and I had the privilege of journeying through some of it, you didn't let that thwart you. You didn't let that be, well, this is hard, so it must have not been the right thing, or I'm just not cut out for this because it's too whatever. Instead, you used the tools that you had been given and these other moments where the Lord met you in that risk and that asking
Mhm.
for greater capacity, and you owned it. And there really was beautiful fruit from that time. And that's just one small sliver
Yeah.
of this
Yes,
beautiful
you're right.
pie.
It was. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it too because the other piece it shows for those of us who love fives and maybe at first we're not received well, our curiosity, our energy, our
Mhm.
constant inviting. This story of your friend leaning in and not quitting, I think is a great encouragement to those of us who are feeling maybe a little bit stymied or blocked
Yeah.
or that there's
Yeah.
walls up. But I think you would say, keep leaning in, keep asking. It's
Absolutely.
important, even if we say
Absolutely.
no.
Yes. And just answer their silly questions. If you're meeting someone new, just answer the silly question. You don't know where the conversation may lead. It may lead
That's right.
to the best friendship of your life.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Okay. As we round up here, or round down, however you want to put it, I would love to just hear any other last minute things that you would share with a five who's standing at the edge of a relationship that either terrifies them or who wants to move toward connection but doesn't is afraid they don't have enough to give. There's so many things, but what are some of your insights that would help encourage my friend listening today?
First, I think I would say when it comes to we can be hoarders of time and even hoarders of knowledge, there's some relief in not knowing everything. And I had to remind myself at times, I am not all knowing. God is all knowing. And
That's good.
that's when I really shifted and I realized I was using this knowledge gaining as a coping mechanism instead of leaning into my relationship with Christ. So let go of this idea of you have to know to have relationships or to carry on important conversations. You don't have to know everything. Like let God do the all knowing. And
So
then
good.
I think, as a five, I think it's in the triad. We have a little bit of that eight. Eights are very good at being bold. And I would encourage a five to be bold. Don't wait for someone to approach you. Or if there's something that's on your mind or on your heart, don't overthink it. Just say it. That would be my advice. Because I feel like I have missed out on so many opportunities and so many relationships just out of fear. out of fear of what it might cost me.
Yeah. Wow, Georgia, you just described the kind of courage that the 5 needs and is available to someone who's willing to ask and to be honest, and I think the fear never goes away about depletion, it's
Right.
there, but you're showing what it looks like to still step forward with that faith and find the Lord meeting you in it, so I
Mhm,
think that's really incredible, really
mhm.
incredible. Have you in this journey, are you seeing the Lord answer your prayer for a miracle?
100%.
I love that.
Uh, it's so much to the sense I never would have expected we would be where we're at today with my relationship with my brother. It wasn't even the one miracle we thought, it was multiple miracles. And there's no explanation other than that. It's been multiple miracles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crying with you. All glory to God because I am not in the middle of the story. I am not a facilitator. I just am a witness to an astounding miracle that there are very few words for, except for
Yeah.
what feels beyond repair and so
Mhm.
impossible is
Mhm.
never for the Lord,
Mhm.
and He
It's
makes a
not.
way.
Yes. I think
Not always
there's
our way, but
yeah.
He makes a way.
Yeah.
Well, Georgia, thank you. Thank you for giving us the real story. It is what you've given today is an incredible gift for fellow fives who are listening and going, ah,
Yes.
me too. Thank you. It's not easy to step into this and share so vulnerably. So I don't take this lightly. And it's a huge gift that you've given. So just thank you. Thank you for being a part of this and offering hope and encouragement and a little bit of insight of what it looks like to move beyond our starting point.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. And I'm still learning. It's this is just the beginning, I think. So
Yes, it's definitely a journey. And so
yeah.
those who are listening wherever you find yourself in your story, whether you're standing at the edge of a relationship that feels costly, or you're in a slow work of reconciliation, or you're just wondering, can there be more capacity for me? May this story prove that the Lord will meet you wherever you are, and He's not afraid to take you as you are and do the work with you. So, you definitely have more to give than you think, and in God's presence, you're the safest that you could be. So, Georgia, thanks again for your time.
Thank you. You're welcome.